We are so lucky to have her here today. I asked her one fact I thought, kind of, me, I like little fun facts. So, I'll say this. When I lived in Chicago, I was lucky enough to go to Oprah 4 times and sit in the audience. However, Annie was actually talking with Oprah on the show. So Google it. So that is really cool. And I wasn't in the audience on that time, but that is really awesome. So she's here today. Let's put your hands together and give her a warm round of applause.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be with you guys this morning, and I love my topic, and I think it aligns really well with your theme of servant leadership, because really it's about impacting as a leader and living as a leader. So I'm wondering about you guys, how many of you are making an impact? By a show of hands. Well, the truth is that each and every one of you is making an impact. So the more important question is this: are you making a positive or a negative impact? Because you're all making an impact. Another question I need to know before I start is, how many of you have ADD? You two are going to love the presentation. The rest of you are going to have no idea what I'm talking about, but hopefully at the end you will learn or rethink about something. But the truth is, we all make an impact every single day of our lives. We make an impact with our words, we make an impact with our actions, our interactions with people. But sometimes our impact is positive, and sometimes it's negative. Now, Tanya over here, I don't know if you know this, Tanya, but nobody, and I mean nobody in this room, thinks you're as great as you think you are. But what's your name again?
Victoria.
Victoria, could you stand up? I mean, will you guys look at Victoria? She is gorgeous. Turn around. I mean, look at that color. She is beautiful, isn't she? I mean, she looks good. I love the people that live in color. Don't you love the people that live in color? Right? I mean, so many people live in black and white, but she is in color. But I wonder, which words affected you more? I mean, when you go home, are you going to think about what I said to Tanya? Are you going to think about this bright, beautiful color and how you want to live in color? What are you going to think about? Think about the color? Because they say there's a lot of research done that says 3 positives to every 1 negative. Is that right? Or is it maybe 5? I think it's got to be 7, right? But if you stood in front of a room and you told 900 people told you you are amazing, but one said, "What is wrong with you? I hated your hair. You had weird shoes on. What are you thinking about when you leave?" I don't care how much research we do, people think about the negative. The negative sits on you. Now here's the thing about Tanya. Not only do I like Tanya, but I think she has the most beautiful eyes in the world. And I asked her before I spoke those words onto her, because it didn't feel good, did it? It doesn't feel very good, does it? It feels icky.
Yeah.
It feels really icky. And yet people go through life and they say stuff like that. And the reason I use these words on both of you is because I want you to feel what it feels like. And not only do I want you to feel what it feels like, I want you to know that both of these words were spoken on me 6 months apart. These words by my mom, and these words by a really angry, mean-looking security guard at an airport. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny that we wonder about people and we look at them? And see, for me, living a life of impact, leading with impact, rewriting my legacy is something I don't wish for you. But if it's your story that needs to be rewritten, be open to doing it. You see, I was having a real nice visit with my mom. She lives out in San Francisco. My mother is mentally ill, undiagnosed and untreated. We had had a nice day together, but for some reason at the end of that day, something hit her. She got real close to me. She pointed her finger in my face, and she said the exact words that I said. Now, in your head, you can logically think, that person is sick, or that person's having a bad day, or it's not about me, it's more about them. But the thing about our head and our heart is that sometimes they disconnect. And our head can tell us the person didn't mean it, but our heart can still say, ick, that didn't feel good. And see, that day, we had spent the day together, but I never stay with my mom. She's a hoarder, just like the TV show. So I stay at a hotel when I go to visit her, and I had spent the day with her. We had had a great day, but something I said or did, or nothing I said or did, upset her, and she put those words on me. I remember going back to my hotel room that night and thinking in my head, I know she doesn't mean it, but man, it hurts. I know she didn't mean to hurt me, but ick, it doesn't feel good. But then I ask myself these questions. Are you great? Does anybody think you're great? Are you even good? So I wonder, what is confidence?
Believing in yourself.
Believing in yourself. Confidence is believing in what you're good at. What is arrogance? What?
Showmanship.
Showmanship. What else? What is arrogance? What does it look like? What does it feel like?
Like you think you're better.
Better than. I have to push others down to pull myself up. I mean, I make an amazing banana bread. All my neighbors love my banana bread. Is it better than yours? I don't know. Arrogance is saying mine is the best. It's needing to push others down to pull yourself up. I don't feel a lot of arrogance at this conference. I feel a lot of kindness and encouragement. I watch you guys interact with each other. I came in Monday afternoon. I start listening to conversations. A lot of people do their research as speakers by reading books. I love to come in and spy on people. It's part of what I do. It's called people watching. Some people say I'm the best researcher around because I hear things that other people don't hear, and I see things that other people don't see because they work in that environment over and over and start to take for granted. You see, the other words that were spoken on me is I won a trip to Destin, Florida. I work with a healthcare company, and I won this trip. And I don't know what you guys are seeing right now, but when I look in the mirror every morning, I mean, I see a 6-foot-tall, super fit supermodel. Are you seeing that? That's not a funny part of the story. This is what I see and feel. I mean, I get up, I go, God, you look good. How could you be that fit without working out that much? You know, it's just like amazing for me. But then when you go on a beach with a bunch of real super fit, 6-foot-tall supermodels, something happens to your self-esteem. And I ended up spending that week under an umbrella, and I love the sun. And my husband would say, do you want to go for a walk on the beach? And I would say, can we wait till after dark? I mean, it was just not a good, feel-good week. And these guys, for fun, would get up at 4 in the morning and they'd do kettlebells on the beach. And I'm thinking, how can that be fun? I mean, I don't mind 4:30 in the morning sitting looking over at the beach, but not walking on it. But by the end of the trip, I had felt so bad about myself. I mean, not that I think I'm in terrible shape, but I knew I wasn't quite as fit or maybe quite as tall as I had thought. And so I wasn't feeling very good, and it was the last day of the trip, and I went through my luggage, and the only thing I had left was a muumuu. Who knows what a muumuu is? Let me just tell you, I put on that muumuu and I just wanted to get back to freezing cold Minnesota and put on a parka where nobody could see what I actually look like and I could just live in my mind of fantasy and happiness. And then I was walking through the airport and this security guard like this said, you look real good. I like that dress. And I was like, she startled me, first of all, because I was just like, I wanted to get back home. And I said, thanks. And she goes, I go, I don't feel it. She goes, I'm not that nice. Wouldn't have said it if I didn't mean it. Right? I mean, even just in that moment, she had the ability to impact my life. Just those little things we say. Those little things we say. Such beautiful things. You see, for me, I need to rewrite my legacy because the story that was being created in my life was not the one I wanted to leave my own children. I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be better. You see, this is my beginning. I'm the middle of 7 kids raised by a single mom. I grew up in extreme poverty. There's a man here, I think his name is Michael, I can't be sure, but I just like to call him Angel Food Cake. And I have a story in my book about Angel Food Cake and how one night we had to sneak over to the dumpsters at the grocery store down the street, and that night there was 300 Angel Food Cakes in those dumpsters. Let me just tell you, I do not eat Angel Food Cake. I lived on that Angel Food Cake day after day for breakfast and lunch, but this was my last beautiful picture that I have of my family, and I love that picture. You see, it's so sweet to me because there's smiles, some real and some fake, but there's smiles in that picture. Does anyone know who I am?
You're sitting in the front row.
So you think I'm a boy. My whole life people thought I was a boy. See, this is how it is. I'm not the boy, but I am the second one in, that's right, yeah. But the 3 of us on the front, we all weighed 68 pounds for a long time, and we all had pixies because it saved on shampoo. And so people always thought we were triplet boys, and I was like, I'm a girl. I'm actually a girl. So I just wanted to make sure you knew for sure.
For the blonde hair.
I know. I am a brunette naturally. In case you didn't know, this is my, this is my as you age hair. I'm 28. I'm 28. Don't ask the age of my children. But I love this picture because it's special to me for so many reasons. But I also hate this picture. You see, it's the last picture that we have with all of us. My brother in the white shirt at 22 years old, 1 week after his 22nd birthday, and the day after my 23rd, he took his life. And that's a sad part of the story, right? But the thing about legacy is that if you don't consciously choose to change your legacy that needs to be changed, not all of ours do, but some do, it will repeat itself. My father drank himself to death. My brother took his life the day after my birthday, and 22 years later, his son took his life. Mental illness, as we heard Bree last night talk about building bridges, is something that I'm passionate about. Rewriting legacy is something that I'm passionate about because I think that people get caught in their stories and think, this is how it's always been, this is how it's always will be. But what if it can be differently, and what if it can be better? Better than you ever thought. I hate that this is my last picture with all of my siblings, and yet I love that I have this picture because it was only a few months after this that he took his life. You see, since I was a little girl, I knew there had to be more. That we had to be created for more than what is, than good enough, than mediocre, right? Like you can get up and do the same thing over and over every day. I met a woman last night and we talked about education. I think her name was Lisa. I mean, I was so fired up by the time I left her. I was so excited. I thought if I change any more lives, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. I gotta go to bed. It was just so exciting. But I love when people know there's more. Do any of you know this quote? It was written by Marianne Williamson, but it was made famous by Nelson Mandela when he won the Nobel Peace Prize. How many of you in this room are brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Raise your hands. Come on, there's got to be more than the people with ADD. We got to have at least 3 of you that know this. How many of you have done Strength Finders? Have you done Strength Finders? You got to know you got good in you. It doesn't mean better than, it doesn't mean perfect. It means that you are smart with what you know. It means that you are gorgeous and you take care of yourself. It means that you're talented because we all have different talents. I'm a horrible singer, but someday when I'm up speaking, I'm gonna sing. Just because I want to. I have a fantasy about it. Fabulous. Somebody thinks you're fabulous. They really do. They really do. I love this quote because it reminds us to not live small. I think sometimes people are so busy not being arrogant that they forget to tell us what they're good at. They forget to say, I'm good at banana bread. What are you good at? You're good at coffee. You make the coffee. I'll make the banana bread. You're good at inviting people. Get the people together. You're good at being an encourager. Let's do it. I love when somebody said, it's not about being a leader. It's about being a cheerleader. I love cheerleaders. I don't know how many of you are going to be here Saturday night, but I'm going to be here. I'm going to ride my bike here Saturday. I am not a bicyclist. But people have MS, and I care about other people in the world. Do things that are bigger and more than yourself, because life is about that. I love this quote, and I tell people, if you don't know how to affirm yourself, start with this quote. Print it out. Go Google it. It's called Our Greatest Fear. And we often play small rather than letting our lights shine in this world. Impact is about living intentionally. You all have handouts in front of you, but living intentionally is about choice. It's about getting up every morning and I decide I'm going to have an amazing day. That doesn't mean everything's going to be great, but it's a decision to show up differently, to be different even in the face of adversity. Some people will say to me, why are you not bitter? Why do you not feel sorry for yourself that all you've gone through? But how does that help me or anyone else around me? To live intentionally means to do it differently, to think about our words before they come out of our mouth, and to, if we say the wrong thing, go and apologize. Oftentimes things slip out that we don't even mean or are perceived differently than we intended. Living intentionally. I want to give you some pictures because I think that you can have visual and you can see how this works. So I love to share through stories. And living intentionally for me is a lot of different things. But one thing that I really love about living intentionally is being an encourager and having my children watch me encourage other people. And recently, my son and I, my youngest a couple years ago, were out visiting colleges. And we had stopped into this restaurant, some sort of steakhouse, and the service was amazing. The hostess was really sweet. And then we had someone that sat, she sat us, and then the server was great and the bartender was great. Everyone was wonderful. And as I left the restaurant, I thought, I'm going to take a moment and say something. So I went up to the hostess, again, a sweet young girl, and I said, can I see your manager? And you just know how her face changed, right? She went from, okay, what's wrong now? So she went back and got the manager, And the manager said, oh, I'm so sorry, can I help you? And I said, oh, you can help me. I would love it. I said, I want you to know that I came in here, I'm visiting from Minneapolis, and I came in here tonight, and your service was amazing. From the hostess that greeted me at the door, to the person that poured the water, to the person that brought me warm rolls, to your bartender, everybody was amazing. And what was so wonderful is that people are so busy that the only time we speak up is when we have something negative to say, right? A complaint. My coffee's not quite warm enough. But in this moment, this manager smiled at me. He was so proud of his staff. But what was even more wonderful is standing behind him was the hostess who was ready for me to complain, and she just lit up. She mentioned me. You could just see it on her face that this 16-year-old girl was impacted by me mentioning her. But even more impactful than the manager and the hostess was my son standing behind him. My son standing behind them, who he heard my mom took the time to say thank you and to recognize by person, each person that impacted us for good. You see, I grew up believing that men were bad. All men were bad, and that hands of a man were used for violence. But what if I can not only change that story and rewrite it to something really beautiful? You see, what if the stories we tell ourselves, one thing I talk about is be honest. And people will say to me, I don't lie. And I go, it's the opposite of honest isn't a lie, it's a story that's been repeated so much, we start to think it's the true story. I love to break in on people's conversations or overhear people, and if one person starts ripping on all women are crazy, all men are not so nice. I love when one person says, what if that's not true? I wait for that. I wait for someone to edify another sex or another race or another whatever. What if that's not a true story, but we repeated it so much, we believed it to be true? In addition to that restaurant visit on that same trip, my son said this to me. We were driving, and the thing about kids, I love visiting colleges, and with my kids, I never got to have that experience myself growing up, and so I love to take my kids to at least 5 colleges, and one of them has to be 3 hours away or more is our rule at our house, or my rule, really. And the reason why is because if your teenager doesn't talk to you, you lock them in that car for 3 hours, and whether they mean to or not, they will talk to you. You know what I mean? They'll tell you things. They're like, I'm not going to talk to you. Okay, good. We're going to keep driving to you. I get lost on purpose till they start talking. You got to do what use your tools. But my son says this to me. We're driving along. He goes, hey, Mom. I go, yeah. He goes, I've been thinking about something. I go, okay. He goes, yeah, I'm like Dad. I'm a lot more like Dad than you. I'm like, you're kind of like me. No, I'm like Dad. I'm like, come on. He was 9'4" and 22 inches. And though I am 6 feet tall, 22 inches is long. You know what I'm saying? And I was there at birth. I wanted a little credit. He said, oh, no, I am way more like Dad than you. I said, you are? He said, oh, yeah, I'm way more like Dad. I said, what does that mean? He goes, well, I've been thinking about this thing for a while. I said, well, what are we talking about a while? He said, well, you know how you talk and then think? I go, yeah. Isn't that normal? Right? We talk and then we think about what we said, and that's why we got to apologize to someone. He said, well, I've been thinking about it for a while. I said, well, how long? He said, well, we think about things, then we think about it some more, we think about it a little more, and then we decide if we're going to talk about it or not. Who knew that was an option? You know what I mean? But every time I speak, guys come up to me, they're like, that's me. I'm like, really? Really? You can think that much about your words before you come out or don't come out of your mouth? I don't know. He said, well, I've been thinking about it for 5 years. 5 years? Since I was 12 years old, I've been sitting in the back seat and thinking about how weird Dad is. I go, Dad is weird. Let's talk. I got a list. Let's start talking about how weird Dad is. Mom, I'm not saying that. I said, well, let's just talk. He said, no, it's just kind of one thing about Dad's weird. Just one? He said, well, Dad's right-handed. I go, yeah. He goes, well, he's right-handed, and he drives with his left hand, and he can throw the ball with his left hand, but it's not as good as the right hand, but he can, but it's just kind of weird. I'm like, that is weird. I've never thought about it, never noticed it, had no idea about it, but that's weird. What are you thinking about that? Why? Why does Dad drive with his left hand? I don't know. That is super weird. Should we ask him? Oh, no, I figured it out. You figured it out? Yeah, because when you go to driver's training, Mom, you got to do 10 and 2 when you old people. I'm one of the old people. Now we do 9 and 3 because of the airbags. He said, but Daddy drives with his left hand, just his left hand. I figured out why he does. You see, Mom, as I sit in the back seat and watch Dad, what I notice is Dad always drives with his left hand. So he always has his right hand available to hold yours. anytime you'll hold his. It was worth waiting 5 years for. You see, I never thought about it. What I thought about is how I was raised and what I was trained about a man's hand, and then my son has sat in the back seat for 5 years. Oh, my phone's ready. Do you mind if I turn your phones on, take pictures, do whatever you... Whose phone's ringing? So good, so good. Yeah, that's right. I think that it's so beautiful that sometimes we don't even know people are watching us. People are watching you. People are watching you. They're watching what you do with your hands and your mouth and your eyes. They're watching if you look at them. You see, we're all making an impact. The question is positive or negative. You know, you might think about when you say something, but who's watching you? And we're all leaders. I mean, most of you, if not all of you, lead teams or lead a few people or lead a big group. But you're leading at home. You're leading in the neighborhood. You're leading in the grocery store. Do you put down your phone at the checkout and look at the person in the eye? I've had every job in the world. There is no job that is beneath me or below me. Above me or below me, I don't know, whichever direction I'm going. I'm directionally challenged. I have cleaned houses. I've been a lunch lady. I've been a waitress. I love being a waitress. My husband fires me from these jobs, but I love it. Like, I love serving other people. And I love watching, will they look at me or will they decide I'm less than or greater than them? What will they decide? How do you treat people? And the other way I want you to have a picture of what it looks like to impact lives is this. I do own a gym. Over the last 11 years, we've bought 2 gyms. We sold one after 5 years, built a second one a year later, and we still have one. I hired a young man to be a personal trainer for us straight out of college. He was sweet and shy and quiet, and he interviewed with me, which I love interviewing people. I love kind of doing everything, but I love interviewing people and messing with them. It's not very nice. You should all come work for me. And if you go through an interview with me, you can be interviewed by anyone, because I stare at you. Really stare, try to freak them out and just see. Because I think if they can deal with me, they can deal with any client, right? And so I stare him down, and this boy is so sweet. He's a big, muscly man, and I'm staring him down, and he's just looking down and so nervous, and I can tell. And he's saying to me, I want to work with you, but only with athletes and not with old people, and I'm going to be a football player, so I'm only here a couple months because I'm going to play for the NFL. And I'm like, okay. And I'm just staring at him and teasing him, and he's quiet. I'm going to inspire people. It's going to be great. And I'm like, how are you going to inspire people if you can't even look at me? How are you going to encourage people? And he really believed, I'm only going to work with young athletes. How many of you know teenage athletes that have a whole bunch of money to spend on personal training? Right? And I knew that, but I didn't want to break his heart. And he was joining the NFL anyway, so I didn't think he'd be around long. I don't know, it was just good. So I hired him, and he was sweet, and I got to mentor him and just encourage him. And then one day, he's been with us now 11 years. He did not join the NFL. And he's been with us 11 years. And one day, I went and worked out at my gym. And even though I am super fit, I only work out there once every 4 years. Not because it's the only place I work out, but because when you work out as a gym owner, people go this, can you check how many times I've been here? Would you mind checking my insurance? I'm like, I'm on the treadmill, but never mind. Yes, let me just stop. So I don't work out at my own gym very much. And Snap Fitness, if you belong to one, you can go to any. But one day I decided, maybe about 5 years ago now, to go do our fitness class with him. And so my clients on average are about 75 years old. 60 to 95 is our age category at our gym. So he's not necessarily working out with young athletes. But he told me about a year into the job, he said, Annie, you know what? He said, I'm not just a personal trainer. I said, oh no, you're not. He said, I'm a best friend. I said, you are. He said, I'm a therapist. Yes, you are. I'm an encourager. Yes, you are. I'm a cheerleader. Yes, you are. You see, in that position, you have to wear a lot of hats, right? But I took a class with him with all these women that are, at that point, some of them were twice my age, and I was whining. Oh, God, Adam, you're trying to kill me. Oh, my arm, it's so tired. Oh, why are you... And the ladies, they just start yelling at me. You leave our Adam alone. What's wrong with you? We love Adam. They're ready to take me out, and they're 75. I'm not kidding you. These women are pissed. They are so angry. And these women, they bake him bran muffins, and with their bare hands, they just shove them in his bag, and they crunch up coins and dollars and give them to him. They try to get him to date their daughters and their nieces and their it just doesn't matter. He just recently got married. I said, if you kill my membership, you're just, but he's just this awesome young man. And so we did the class, but I'm whining, and the women are yelling at me, and it's kind of intense. They really are yelling at me because they love him. And I'm saying, I kind of love him too. He wouldn't work here, right? I like him. He wouldn't be part of our team. And but they all leave. And I say to him, what is the deal with you? Why do women love you so much? And he, being the really kind, humble man that he is, said, they can't help it. They're only female. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're fired. Get out of here. I cannot have you in my gym anymore. And he's laughed, and I said, seriously, why do people like you so much? He goes, I don't know. I don't know. And because I'm an extrovert and I don't think about things during the day, I think about them at night. I go home and I lay down my head and I go back through my day and I think about all the different things throughout my day. I thought about him and I thought, why do they love him so much? And then I saw this. What is your name?
Debbie.
Debbie, I want you to know that you're tired. I want you to know that I know that this is hard for you, but I believe in you. And Debbie, I'm not quitting. Even if you quit, I'm sticking here with you until you're done. And Debbie, I believe in you, and I know that you're going to get to where you're going. You see, I got this picture of him with his clients. I got this picture and I thought about all of you and I thought about me and I thought, how easy is it to just say to our spouse and our kids and our best friend, love you too, yep, love you, catch you again, love ya. It just becomes like, we just say it, do we mean it? And maybe we really do mean it, but do we show it? You see, I wonder, when was the last time you looked someone in the eye, you touched them, and you poured belief into that person? And what I like to tell people is don't pour belief in them because they got a promotion, they graduated from college, they did something amazing. Pour belief in them because of who they are, just as a person. They don't have to earn it, they just are, and you notice. So your first homework as you leave here today is I want you to write down the name or initials of at least one person you will leave this room in the next 24 hours and go do that. Pour love and belief and encouragement into a person. Who can you do that to? The first thing I want you to know is if you do that to someone who is not used to you doing that, they are going to ask you, what do you want? What's up? What do you want? Or they're going to say, have you been drinking? What is going on with you? Because you're going to make them uncomfortable. I would tell you, do it every single day if you have children into your home. My kids think I am the biggest weirdo in the world, and yet 2 out of 3 of them will tell you that I'm their hero. I'll be weird every day of the week if I can change a life. I want you to know that I did that at a conference recently and a woman started bawling. She just started bawling. And after I got done, she came up to me and she said, how did you know? How did you know that I needed to hear that? And so I'm wondering, how did I know? How did I know? What?
It showed.
It showed? How did I know?
Because
Because everybody
everybody
needs it. Because everybody needs it. This particular woman was going through a dramatic divorce, had just lost her job, was going through some really heavy stuff. But we're all going through something. See, the truth about us is we all have a story. But beyond the story is we have another backstory. You see, we all have a story behind our story that we often never tell anyone or very few. We have those things we hold in our heart and in our heads that people don't know about us, but that we're struggling with internally. And sometimes those things are little inconveniences, but sometimes they're big deals. You see, to live intentionally means to make a decision to be different, to be kinder, to be more generous with our words, with our actions, each and every day. The M is for make it happen. People ask me all the time, Annie, you're doing all these amazing things. What's the magic? Is there a magic pill for losing weight? How about for being successful? How about for making a difference in the world? There's no magic pill. But if I could teach you something, and actually your CEO taught me something since I got here. He didn't say it, but I heard it. It's how my mind works. I hear what you don't say. And I shared it with him, and he said, can I tell people this? And I said, you can, but let me share it first in the presentation. So I love to teach people to go from good to great, right? I didn't know what your logo was, good, great, grand. I didn't know that. Maybe I should have if I was a better researcher, but didn't know it. Good, great, grand. But I want to teach you to go from good to great. So good for me is, how many of you know what a gratitude journal is and ever use it? Okay, know what it is, don't use it. So let me explain to you what it is. A gratitude journal is, we live in a world where many people struggle with sleep. Why do you think we struggle with sleep? We watch the 10 o'clock news, see how much violence we can catch up on, close our eyes and can't figure out why we can't sleep. Right? Just seems like a great idea. Do we do that to our kids? No, we give them a bath, we rub their back, we maybe say prayers with them, we read a book with them, and we put them to bed. and they sleep better than we do. So what I encourage people to do is take your journal, which you all got a beautiful journal, so you could use it for this. Go home and at night write down 3 things you're grateful for, right? Write down, I'm grateful I got out of bed. I'm grateful I have a job. When people complain to me about their boss, I always say, when was the last time you thanked your boss for having a job? A lot of unemployed people in the world wishing they had a job, or their parents wishing, no. Anyway, so write down 3 things you're grateful for. So it can be as simple as getting out of bed, having a job. It can be bigger than that. Someone was kind to me. I won an award. Your awards last night were so moving to me. I was so grateful to get to watch people be recognized. I was so grateful to hear how many nominations you guys had. Some companies don't want to write a nomination for someone else because they're thinking, why should I nominate them? What about me? Or they're so busy with their own stuff, they forget to slow down to write a nomination. That was so beautiful to me. So good is being grateful. So you write it at night, you get up in the morning and you read them first thing in the morning, okay? So it starts your day positive, ends your day positive. That is a good way to go through life. A great way to go through life is once you do the gratitude, take it a step further. The next step is this. Write down what you gave away today. Because yes, you should take care of yourself first. But the second step is to give. It's not all about us. What did you give? Did you give kindness, patience, encouragement, wisdom? Did you buy someone a cup of coffee? Did you hold the door or share a smile? How many of you are really helpful people and have a 3-year-old child or grandchild or an 80-plus-year-old parent or grandparent, and they repeat the same story over and over again, and you, being the helpful person you are, tell them, you already told me that 3 times. How does that make a person feel? Not good. But what if next time you went, oh, who did you see there? What else happened? And you acted curious. You gave away curiosity and kindness to somebody. So the next step is to write down 3 things you gave away. It can be letting someone in on the freeway. It can be doing something different. But when Joe said yesterday, grand, I thought, what is the grand piece? Why am I not teaching people to go from good to great to grand? How could I teach people to be grand in this world? And that, at least as far as yesterday, my decision is that the next G, because it's 3 G's, is good, great, and grand, is grow. What are you learning? You see, by the time I was 18, I had moved 83 times, and as a little girl, I felt sorry for myself, but today, I love change. I know how to make new friends. I know how to navigate new areas. You see, when you're growing, when you're changing, you might get uncomfortable, but if you write 3 ways you grew, or even one way that you grew today, one way you expanded your mind, your thoughts, one way you believed in something new that you had disregarded before, one way you rewrote a story that you had repeated so many times you thought it was the truth, but it really wasn't. I think what makes you grand is when you're open to growth and when you grow. It's because I think making it happen is about doing the stuff that is hard. I love the SMART goals. Are you guys familiar with SMART goals? But the A, I like to challenge. Because I always think, what if you think it's achievable? In January, when I signed up for the MS 150, I hadn't been on my bike in years. I'm not a bike rider. I don't have any idea how I'm going to do this weekend. And I'm a little scared to death, but I'm going to do it. Because you know what? I can. And when I get done with the ride, my legs will be sore, but I can walk. And not everybody with MS can walk. And to be achievable means you think you can do it. But what if you signed up to do something you didn't think you could do? What if you went above and beyond what you thought you could do? The P stands for purpose, and a lot of speakers talk about purpose and passion, purpose and passion. What does it really mean? Purpose and passion, and how do we find it? And I actually have an example of purpose and passion in my front row with me today. And she might not even know that her purpose and passion is what I'm going to use as my example today, but Miss Lori I met, I believe, on Monday night. And Monday night, they were sharing a story about an employee that was struggling. And what I know about purpose is, how do you find it? Like, people are like, I want a purpose, I don't know what it is. And what I'll tell you is, purpose comes from some pain. My purpose is edifying my brother's life. He died with labels that he was bad. My mother told us over and over that men were bad. I felt sorry for my sisters and I that we dated guys that were bad. I felt worse today for my brother who thought he was bad. You see, people are good. And even, it kills me when people say, my kid's a good kid. Whose isn't? Just some kids make bad choices. Some adults do too. But everybody has a pain in their life. And sometimes your pain is small. Like my neighbor next to me's desk is messy. That bothers me. But it's okay. It can be that small or it can be enormous. My pain is that I want no one to suffer like my brother did. But whatever your pain is, if you mix that with that energy, you know how when you have an irritation, a frustration, and it gives you energy? That's passion. Passion is the energy inside of you around the pain. So Lori had an employee that wanted to be promoted. And what I loved about watching Lori and watching the women that I sat with talk about Lori, to Lori, and about her team is this. That employee wanted to be promoted. And Lori had to say to her with love and respect, I can't. You're not ready. You're missing the mark on a few things here. But what she also said is, I believe in you. I believe in you. And I can't give it to you now, but my passion, my pain is that I care about people that aren't always able to be as successful as I know they can be. But my passion is to develop them, to believe in them until they can find it. And your purpose comes when you do the work in. When you do the work to reach whatever goal it is. And what I loved about Lori's story, and it really impacted me, is that I watch people's face. One of my gifts, I think, is that I like to hear what you don't say and see what other people don't see. And as we talked about this employee, you could tell Lori definitely, and I don't know her. You know, I don't know this woman at all, and I'm listening to this story and listening to other people talk. You could tell she cared about her employee, but then she was also honest. Like, I can't promote you, but I believe in you. She didn't necessarily use these words, but I will tell you, her face and her eyes spoke them to me, and I heard the belief without her having to use that word. It went on to say what happened has sense. She had to tell her no. All the things this woman has done to change. So she was prepared for that promotion. But what was the most amazing part to me of the night? Though Lori seems like a lovely lady and her belief in the other woman was beautiful. What was really lovely is the women that I was sitting with, only one whom I know, said, it is because of you. It's because of your belief. It's because of your not giving up. It's because of you, even though you had to say some hard stuff, also encouraged. And her face changed. She was being honored by these other women, but it was more than that. It was her saying, she's doing a good job. It was her being edified as she edified one of her employees. You see, as leaders, we have the ability to encourage those around us and to believe in them when they don't believe in themselves. You see, I believed in Adam when he was silent and quiet and only going to work with professional athletes. Today, more people like him than like me. It kind of bothers me. It kind of bothers me. I used to say people liked me a lot till you came along. Maybe it's he's younger or more fit, I don't know. But what I know is when people believe in you, it changes lives. And what I also know as I travel and I speak is that lots and lots of people have no one that believes in them. No one that tells them they're proud of them. No one that tells them, I think you're an incredible human being. And you, as a leader, have the ability to do that to a person. You, as a leader, have the ability to look at that and without words or with words, pour that into somebody who needs it. You can see more and more, I hear about people that grew up with families like mine, without a mom or a dad that could use those words. And you have the ability to be that difference maker in their life. You have the ability to make your purpose being passionate about helping other people find their purpose. And when they're frustrated about something, asking them, what will you do with that energy? How can you make it better? How can you encourage it? How can you be selfless inside of it? And I loved that. A is adaptability. Are you open to change? Do you like change? Do you love change? If you are stuck for a long time in the same thing over, I was amazed at how many people have 25 years here. That is so beautiful. That's so many companies don't have loyalty like that anymore. I mean, that's incredible, just incredible. But even if you stay at the same company, you can change. You can get a promotion. You can change in your home. You can change your attitude. If you start addressing people day after day by looking them in the eye and speaking their name and speaking kindness, you're going to freak some people out. But what if that change becomes so normal that it just becomes great and they start doing it to other people? What if that's that legacy that you pass on? I don't know what was up with her, but she was always so happy. I don't know what her story was, but she was always so happy. So open to change that when it came, she always looked for the silver lining. I spoke recently at a conference and a guy came up to me afterwards. He waited till everyone left. I was there for 2 days and it was a 3-hour presentation, 2 days in a row, and he sat in the second row in the third seat and he sat there both days. He didn't say a word to me. And when it was all over, he came up to me and I was at my book table and he said, I want to say something to you. And I was like, okay. And I could tell he wanted to argue with me, which I'm not a big arguer, so I'm like, okay, you win. You know, I was just like, whatever it is, you're right, and I'm wrong. I don't care. But he waited, and then I could tell he's mad, but then I watched his face, right? And his face went from mad to sad. And he said, I want to just say something to you about change. You're telling us all to be happy about change, and I don't like it. And I said, okay. And then I knew he had more inside of him, and he waited till everyone left, and the tears started to come, and he said, I hate change. I'm not happy about it at all. He said, I want to tell you something. I was like, okay, here we go. This is what happens as a speaker. I'm just saying, we make it look glamorous, but really it's all about, no. And he said this, he said, my wife 3 weeks ago was diagnosed with cancer. And she just died a week ago. And you're telling me to be happy about that? I mean, she was the love of my life. We were together for 17 years. I've never been more in love. Then my grandson had to move in with me and teach me how to cook because I never learned how to cook. What am I supposed to do with my life? And you're telling me to be happy? And he went on and on for maybe 20 more minutes, and I let him. And the tears were there, and when he was done, I said this. I am not telling you to be happy about change. I'm telling you that change is a given. I'm not telling you that change is going to be easy. People say there's only 3 guarantees in life. Most people say there's only 2, death and taxes. The third is change. There's always change. I used to be a brunette. You know, there's change in life. But what I do and will argue with any and all of you that choose to argue with me, and I will let you win, is that in every change there is a silver lining. And so when he was done talking, and when he was done being angry and being sad, I said this, excuse me, sir, may I tell you what I just heard? And he said, sure. And I said, at first, I want you to know I'm so sorry for the loss of your wife. Second of all, I want you to know that I meet thousands of people, sometimes on a daily and weekly basis. Many people search their whole life and never find the love of their life. You just told me you found the love of your life and spent 17 years with her. I meet people all the time that go through tragic suffering and death. You told me your wife was diagnosed 3 weeks ago and died 1 week ago. I'm so sorry for your sudden loss, but I meet people that watch their loved ones suffer for years and years in agony and can't do anything. Though you didn't have her long, you didn't watch her agonize for years. And number 3, you told me that you have a grandson that loves you enough that he moved in with you to teach you to cook. Do you know how many people never get to have a grandkid, and when they do, their grandkid's too busy to visit? Your grandson moved in to teach you how to cook. I am sorry, sir, for your loss. We all have tragedy in our life at different times. But the greatest tragedy is missing the silver lining inside of the struggle. You see, sir, you have more love in your life than most people will ever get. And for that, be grateful. Be grieved. Be sad. Life can be tragic and hard and an uphill struggle. Trust me, I know. I have lost way too many people young in my life. But what I also know about change, the good change and the bad, is that even though it's uncomfortable, it's where we grow. And it's where we get stronger. And though it breaks my heart that I lost my brother, for the first 22 years after his death, every March I spent the whole month sad. And then one March I got up and I thought, I'm going to live twice in March. I'm going to live for him and I'm going to live for me. Instead of being sad the rest of my life, I'm going to be kind, because I don't know people's story and their story behind their story. People are hurting in this world. It's a hard place to be, but there are good people. I don't watch the news, but I try to be an encourager and positive anytime I can. The C is about commitment. How do we stay committed to the changes we make in our life? Number 1, how many of you are committed Monday morning that this is going to be the healthiest week of your life? How about by Tuesday? Wednesday? Thursday, who wants to go to happy hour? You know what I mean? And so that C is also commitment, but it's also consistency. We got to have consistency over time. How many days does it take to change a habit? 21, 28, what else we got? Anything? 21 is the most common answer, and there's a reason for that. It comes from the military, great place to get your research, but the 21 days actually comes from, it takes 21 days to not feel phantom movement of a missing limb. That is what 21 days actually came from, but people change it to a goal. I have personal trainers that will say 30 days, some will say 90. This is what I like to tell audiences. Don't make it a number, make it a month. In the month of June, I will drink 5 glasses of water instead of 4. In the month of June, every morning I will get up and say something kind. In the month of June, I will freak out at least 2 people a day by getting really close, looking them in the eye and saying something nice. Commitment plus consistency over time changes lives. T, what's in your toolbox? We all need tools. We need the positive people in our life. We need a plan. We need to know where we're going. We can't just get up and say we're going to do it. We got to have a plan. That's why I set a goal in January to always do something for a cause sometimes later in the year. When I signed up in January for the MS 150, like I told you I hadn't ridden a bike in a long time, I signed up with a team of 10 and that I'd raise $1,000. In February, my husband said, who's on your team? I said, me and 9 of my imaginary friends. He said, okay, I'll be your second. Today I have 8 people. The other 6 came from audiences that I invited to join me. So if any of you are available, I have 2 spots left. It's this weekend, but trust me, we'll have a good time. We'll take a lot of breaks, a lot of candy bars. I snuck extra Snickers from here, so we'll have this. Okay, she's giving me the clock, the ticker. You gotta have a plan, and you gotta have the right equipment. This is my Rewritten, but I want to give away 3 books, so if you'll take just a moment to fill this out and pass it forward, I'm going to describe my books. My Rewritten is that instead of being told that men are good for nothing, I married an amazing man. I'm raising a young 28-year-old boy that has saved my life and helped me grow up, even though I am 28. My daughter is 22. My son is 19. But the most amazing part of my Rewritten is the love that I have for them, but the love that they have for me, that they write me letters and tell me, Mom, you're our hero. Mom, you became everything you never had, and you give it to other people. The second half of my story is that at 6 years old, I was diagnosed with dyslexia. When I see words, they look backwards, they look upside down. They still do. Reading and writing's really hard for me. At 21, a person asked me when I filled out a college application, are you illiterate? Because nothing on here is spelled correctly or in a complete sentence. Today, I've written 3 books. What I want you to know is whatever labels people have put on you on your life, if they don't fit you anymore and you're tired of wearing them, take them off. And don't let it define you. So as I close, I'm going to describe these books to you quick, because if I pick your name, you get to pick which one you want. The first one is an inspirational journal called Past Detours and Possibilities. It is filled with questions, quotes, and short stories for you to interview, for you to write your own story, interview your kids, your spouse, take it on a picnic. And the most amazing way this one was used was a woman bought it and took it to hospice to interview her dying sister, and found out more about her sister in those interviews than she had. The second one is my most popular book, and it is called Be the Exception, because in life there are some rules that need to be broken. And though I grew up with a legacy of death and depression and heartbreak, I have rewritten that, and I give you 7 steps to rewrite your own story to make it more amazing. And when people read this book, they write me letters saying, Annie, I will never yell again, and you make me want to be a better person. So that's the second book. This came out in March of last year, and it just won the National Ben Franklin in the category of self-help award. Thank you. And when this came out, churches sometimes bring me in. They said, why isn't it a Christian book? I said, listen, I meet as many people on bar stools as pew benches. They said, write another book. I said, I'm dyslexic. They said, too bad. We got 20 people that want to buy it, and so I wrote a Bible study. So these are the 3 books. If I pick your name, if you can just pass those forward, I'll pick 3 names. And, and that is, I think that's my last. So there you go. How many of you are ready to make a positive impact? I didn't have a lot of hands in the beginning. Go out there and love some people.